Welcome to Ball Talk Deep, where we talk deep about ball. It's Andrade, and today we're gonna talk about Mike D'Antoni. And I know already everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Why are we talking about a guy who's not even a head coach in the NBA?" And first of all, most if not every YouTube channel that covers basketball is going to talk about NBA free agency and the players and the teams and the exchanges, as well as traditional media. And two, Mike D'Antoni's recent hiring as a coaching consultant on the coaching staff for the New Orleans Pelicans gave me the opportunity, the room to go on this mini rant slash metaphorical analogy I have behind it on the truth behind coaches like Mike D'Antoni. So let's just jump straight into it. And for those who don't know, today Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted, Mike D'Antoni will become a coaching consultant to Willie Green's new staff in New Orleans, sources tell ESPN. D'Antoni completed a season on Steve Nash's Brooklyn staff as a full-time assistant before stepping down recently. D'Antoni will periodically spend time with Pelicans coaching staff through summer league, training camp, and season, per sources. And you guys don't see it, but the top comment underneath that tweet was, "No one wanted him as coach, LMAO." And that's what we're going to talk about. If you guys don't know, if you guys have watched previous videos from BTD, I've talked about how I'm not the biggest fan of D'Antoni, and that doesn't necessarily mean I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's a good coach, sometimes even a great coach. I just don't think has that ability to get you over the hump. And those are the coaches that I'm kind of want to focus on in this video when I'm talking about the truth behind coaches like Mike D'Antoni. Look, Mike D'Antoni has a nice resume. His portfolio is set. His legacy in the NBA is set. Let's be honest. He did help innovate the fastball that we see today in the NBA, the one that the Warriors basically refined and took to build this whole dynasty a couple years ago. Most people say it was inspired by the Phoenix Suns under D'Antoni's reign, where Steve Nash and Mark Stoudemire, etc., etc. So the guy's set. He did also win Coach of the Year back in 04 to 05. And he's been a head coach several times. But here's the thing with his fluctuation. His career is also a little weird. He's been head coach, and then he goes back to assistant. And he'll be head coach again, and then he'll become an assistant again. And the Brooklyn Nets assistant position that he had wasn't the first time when he's gone from head coach to an assistant. It was the first time in years, but yeah. And when I talk about this, I mean the fact that there's a lot of coaches and there's players like this too. And this is what I mean. This video is more about a macro metaphorical take on this skill set or this it factor, and it's that you can have a lot of coaches or players that are very good at their job or have certain unique traits and skills to their skill set that can go really well for a certain mold of a team, but they just miss that thing to get you over the hump. And the important thing to do as a fan, but more importantly as an executive, if you're in a sports league, a professional league, is to when to pinpoint and when to realize the person that you hired, whether it's a player, a coach, or even an executive for your team, is missing that. Because if they're missing that, they're just not going to be able to carry you to the promised land, which is the ultimate goal for everybody in those positions, especially GMs that are trying to build that successful team, that winning culture. And I think this Harry is a brilliant example, a shining example of this. Now, will Mike D'Antoni come back into the NBA as a head coach one day? Wouldn't surprise me, honestly. There's a bunch of bad teams that could use him. I think the way that I view Mike D'Antoni is he's a good to great coach, and he's a phenomenal regular season coach, but he doesn't have that ability to take you over the hump, to carry you deep through the postseason, get you that championship, even a finals appearance. He just hasn't been able to do it. And after so many years and so much time of being able to at least try to adapt and try to see, okay, can he get over it, and not being able to, at some point you have to kind of come to the realization where, like, okay, he's just not that guy. He's just not our guy. And I really wish a lot of times fans as a whole understood that a little more, because I feel like a lot of fans, it goes over their head, especially with players, but even coaches, and they want a coach to stay with them because nostalgia purposes. Maybe that coach has been around for a while, or maybe that coach instituted that culture that the team has but hasn't been able to win it. And by that culture, you guys know what I mean. Like the Bucks had it, Detroit had a certain culture. Miami has a certain culture. But yeah, it's more like personal reasons that are keeping you there. It's almost like a bad relationship that wants you to keep that person around, but that person isn't going to make you quote unquote happy, isn't going to win you a championship. And I think there's also a certain aspect. I think when a franchise hires a certain coach to realize, okay, we are not going after a championship, we're just going after a lot of wins. So if a team, a franchise that's like, say, usually ranking in the eighth or below seed in these past few years or upcoming few years in the future, whatever, and they hire Mike D'Antoni, to me, that would signify, okay, they're trying to get on the right path now in terms of winning, aka regular season games, and at least they're on that right track. And if they continue down that right track, Mike D'Antoni can carry you from 0 to 100, but then at some point you're going to have to adapt and hire a new coach, more than likely than not, to take you from 100 to 1,000. You know what I mean? And that's another thing they bring up a lot in like entrepreneurial stuff. Like, figure out yourself. Are you someone that can build something from scratch and turn it into good, or are you someone that can take something good and turn it into great? And I think Mike D'Antoni is that type of coach, and a lot of coaches are like this, not just in basketball but across many sports, that they can take something from scratch and make it really, really good, but they just can't refine it to be great. You know what I mean? And then there's a lot of coaches that take Steve Kerr, for example, with the Warriors. I could take something really, really good, like Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson set that culture up, set up a lot of things, and that's still a what if thing that people bring up, like, oh, what if he just stayed and they would have still won? You don't know. But Steve Kerr was at least able to prove that he can take something good and turn it into great. And goddamn, did he turn that shit into great? You know what I mean? And yeah, there's a short little video I wanted to pop off and upload because I just thought it was a perfect opportunity. Not something you get a lot of opportunities to talk about. It's relevant, you know. Woj just tweeted about it. Shams didn't even tweet about it. Nah, I see a lot of Shams tweet about how you kicked Woj's ass, and even Kenny for real talked about it. I mean, tweeted about it. But yeah, it's just something to think about, something to get your mind, you know, working up there about this sector of basketball. You know what I mean? I know it's one that not too many people pay attention to. Now, I also think for the Pelicans, this is not a great move. I think it's a good move, but is this going to help keep Zion in the city? Nah. Is this going to help the Pelicans win championships? No. Make a deep postseason run? No. Get to the postseason? Maybe. Like I said, D'Antoni does have the knowledge and experience to help you get a shit ton of wins, get you a lot of points on the board. But other than that, you know, and even Isaiah Thomas once said on First Things First about, like, the problem with D'Antoni is that he wants to win his way, and if it's not his way, he just doesn't want to do it. And that could be good or bad. There's examples where following that, being almost arrogant / ignorant to your vision, tunnel vision, I guess, can lead to a lot of success. Easiest example is look at like Steve Jobs with Apple, when he was able to implement with Apple. But most of the times than not, more likely than not, you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to open up. Best example for this right now that I can think of is Tom Brady with football, and that's why the guy keeps winning. He keeps adapting. LeBron James, he kept adapting. But then again, there's also a lot of examples on the other side where, like, sticking it to your way can get you those W's, like Michael Jordan in his 6 championships. But, you know, you kind of got to figure out, okay, at some point you got to, you know, figure out, is this working for me or not? And then you got to adapt. You know what I mean? I'm sure if Michael wasn't winning all those championships, he would have adapted at some point in his career to win those titles. And I think D'Antoni's been doing this for too long to not want to adapt. You know what I mean? And you got to be careful for coaches like that, because those coaches, if your city hires them, if your franchise hires them, it's a good chance y'all are not winning no championship, and you guys will just have years and years of being in the middle, or even maybe being hyped up like the Rockets were with Harden and D'Antoni, but you will just never get over that hump. You know what I mean? And in the end, you're not trying to get a bunch of regular season wins and even conference finals appearance or finals appearances. No, it doesn't matter. What matters is that Larry O'Brien trophy or that championship in whatever respective sport. That's what matters. That goal, that win it all, thing. Other than that, everything else is just second place or below. And does that really matter in the end? But ultimately, though, what really matters is you tried your hardest. But that's another conversation. But that's it for now. Signing out. See you guys next time. Take care.